Hey guys, again, no physical changes this week, but I got my name changed yesterday, and it's freaking amazing. It still hasn't sunk in yet all the way, but it's still very exciting. So I'm gonna spend this video talking about that whole process and all of that. So I filed for my court date on February 10th. And I finally was in court yesterday, April 27th. So it took a little over 2.5 months for me to get into court. So we show up at court. I'm nervous as hell. Oh my god, I was so freaking nervous. So Sydney went with me, of course, because she's awesome like that. So we're sitting there, and I was number 13 on a calendar of 16. So we're sitting there and we're watching all these people go up and get divorced and all this other. There were a few other people there for name changes and whatnot, but most of it was for divorce. And so they finally get to my name, and I go up there and I sit in the witness stand. And before I even had a chance to open my mouth, really, the judge is flipping through my paperwork, and he goes, "Let me just say this before you get started." And I said, "Okay." And he said, "I have no problem with what you're doing." He said, "My only challenge is it's still a misdemeanor in the state of Georgia for a person to use the bathroom of their opposite gender, or opposite sex, I guess." So he said, "My challenge is, how can I empower you to use the men's restroom if I grant you a masculine name like the one that you're wanting for me to approve?" And he said, "So let me finish here with the other cases that I have to hear. I'm going to take a recess and think about it, and in the meantime, I'll be thinking of creative ways around it, and I need you to sit there and do the same." So I'm like, shit, alright. So I get off the stand, I go sit down, and what do you know, the person behind me is a brother too, and he's there for the same reason. So he goes up, and judge does the same thing. I just told the other person that I can't sit here and empower you with the male names, that you can go use the men's restroom until what, blah blah blah, whatever. So he gets off the stand and comes and sits down, and while he was on the stand, though, a really cool thing happened. This guy walks up behind me and Sydney, and he taps us on the shoulder, and he says, "Would you come with me?" And I'm like, oh shit, here we go. What's about to happen? So we walk out of the courtroom with this guy. He's in a three-piece suit. We walk out, and he shakes my hand. He says, "My name is so-and-so. I'm an attorney, whatever." I'm like, okay. So he said, "I had a case like this in another county not that long ago." He said, "What name are you wanting to change it to?" And so I told him, and he was like, "So Aaron could go, either way." He goes, "There's ERIN," and he goes into, obvious, all these different spellings of Aaron and whatever. And so he's like, "There's nothing that says that Aaron is a male's name." He said, "It's one of those that can go either way." He goes, "And Shane, which is my chosen middle name, is the same way." So he said, "Try that and see if that works." So I was like, alright. So we go back in the courtroom, and he's finishing up with the calendar or whatever, and he says, "Alright, I'm going to take a recess. I want the rest of y'all, like I said, to sit here and think of creative ways to get around this name change thing. And then I'm going to go do some research in my chambers, and I'll be back in a few minutes and make a decision." So we're like, okay. Well, in the meantime, while he's left the bench and is in his chambers doing whatever, Sydney was like, "He's changing your name, not your gender. So, very worst case scenario, just tell him that you still have the F for female on your ID, and he's not changing that. So technically, by law, you are still required to use the female's restroom." It's like, ha ha ha. So we waited probably another 5 or 10 minutes or so, and his assistant walks back in with our paperwork, hands it to the clerk, and says, "Go ahead and stamp him. He's just signed off on him. He's approved him." So he didn't even come back out to tell us that he had gone ahead and done it. So we didn't even have to go through any of the issues of coming up with creative ideas or anything. I don't know if he was just crunched for time and didn't have time to worry about dealing with it, or he just didn't care, or it wasn't that big a deal. I don't know what happened in Chambers, but I'm glad whatever it was did. So anyway, so there was that. And so we're walking down to the clerk's office to get our certified our copies of our court order, along with our certified copies if we chose to get any, which I didn't as of yet. I realize now that I knew I needed them, but they didn't take a debit card, and that's all I had on me at the time, so I didn't bother getting any certified copies because the original court order was free. It didn't cost anything. So so yeah, we're walking down to the clerk's office to get our orders, and the clerk told the girlfriend of the other guy that was the other brother that was there, that a judge, this was the first time in the history that she's known this judge, that he has ever signed off and approved a transgender's name change prior to them having surgery. Neither one of us had had surgery yet, and this judge had never signed off on a pre-op transgender name change ever. So not only did he approve it, but he approved 2 of them in the same day. So it was really, really cool to kind of make history for that judge, I guess. I don't know. But all in all, a very interesting experience. I'm glad it's over. I never want to go through that again. So now we're moving on right along to, I have to get my birth certificate amended. Everything in our legal system is like catch-22. I can't get my social security card without my birth certificate. I can't get my birth certificate without a court-ordered name change, which now I have. So the next step will be to get an amended birth certificate with my now legal name on it. And then from there, I'll go get my social security card because I'll have my birth certificate. And then from there, I will go get my Georgia driver's license because almost 2 years later, I'm still driving around with my Texas license. You know, all of this has been a process, so I haven't really had the ability to go get a Georgia license yet because of all of this that I've been, waiting for. So there's that. Anyway, so after I get my Georgia license, I've got to go get a passport with the correct name, wrong gender. Then I get a letter from my doctor and hope that the passport agency people will accept that letter, saying that I don't have to have surgery and that I am transgender and blah blah blah. So they will take it from the wrong gender and make it the right one, and then from there I have to send that to the Department of Vital Records in the state of Texas to hopefully get my birth certificate amended again to say that I was actually born a male. So then I have to go back and change my Georgia license again to reflect the gender marker change. I'm hoping that I can do all of that out of order. I'm hoping that I can just go get my Georgia license and have them change it with a letter from my doctor, and that's all I need. I won't have to go through the passport and birth certificate and all that crap again. I will eventually get all that anyway. I'm just hoping that I can do it in a different order so that my marriage will be legal when it comes around in June. So anyway, I know that was a lot of information and a lot to comprehend there towards the end. I'm still trying to wrap my head around it myself, but anyway, I'm going to sign off here. I hope you all have a great rest of the week and a wonderful weekend, and I will talk to you next week.